Coming up on First at 4, one Eastern Kentucky school received supplies from a group out of Michigan. And a face-to-face meeting between the United States and Russia. More on what was discussed as the war rages on in Ukraine.
And strong to severe thunderstorm chances on the increase as we head into the day tomorrow. Details on high winds, heavy rain, and a tornado threat coming up as Mountain News First at 4 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, get ready for tomorrow. We are tracking a very active weather pattern set to move into our region. That's why we've declared a First Alert Weather Day. Meteorologist Evan Hatter has more on what to expect and the timing. Evan.
That's right, Steve. We continue to see perhaps one of the strongest storm systems that we've seen push toward the region in a long time. And that's going to be heading in our general direction as we head for tomorrow, and that brings with it several different threats. Let's break it down. A First Alert Weather Day in a place for tomorrow. Not only strong to severe thunderstorms, but we could see winds outside of thunderstorms, 40, 50, even 60-mile-per-hour gusts not associated with storms, and that's all day through tomorrow evening. Then we also had the threat for severe thunderstorms between noon and about 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Damaging winds will be possible in and out of thunderstorms, and an increasing threat, it looks like, for tornadoes pushing into the region, especially the further west that you go. The high wind warning in effect for all the counties in that goldenrod color from tomorrow morning through the evening. Gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour. Wouldn't shock me to see higher gusts than that in areas above about 2,000 feet. Everybody else in that wind advisory, 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if we added more to that as we head into the day tomorrow. Level 3, enhanced risk for severe weather. We don't get these very often in place for the western parts of the viewing area. Wouldn't be shocked if that gets expanded a little bit further to the east as we head into the morning update tomorrow. Everybody else is in a level 2 slight risk for severe weather. This afternoon, this evening, not a problem. We're dry right now. We'll start to see those showers move in a little bit later, though, as temperatures remain upper 50s to near 60. We'll be pushing 70 as we head into tomorrow. So next 12 hours, the rain moves in as we head into tonight. But then we watch the severe weather threat starting even late tomorrow morning. I'll have the details on that in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. Definitely Friday, a day to watch the skies. Well, a group known as DRAW, which stands for Disaster Relief at Work, traveled from Pontiac, Michigan to Knott County. Arriving this morning at Knott County Central High School, Principal Bobby Pollard says he connected with them after the flood, and they keep reaching out to help.
They contacted us and asked us if we needed, supplies and furniture and things like that. So they've been down here a couple times and been really generous in helping us out and help us get back on our feet after the flood.
This morning, the group delivered 20 desks that they built specifically for Knott County schools. We'll have more from them tonight at 6. Kentucky legislators are pushing for a study on potential education reform. Senate President Robert Stivers introduced Senate Joint Resolution 98, which calls for the Council on Post-Secondary Education to study needed changes in educational systems. Stivers says innovation and circumstances led to the resolution.
It's been 25 years since we did those reforms, which took the community colleges from the University of Kentucky's umbrella. So we've not looked at it in that period of time.
One of the proposed questions includes whether a 4-year university would benefit southeastern Kentucky. We'll have more about that tonight at 6. The first of 2 bills expected to be discussed at the state capitol today was Senate Bill 15 about drag performances. The bill's sponsor made significant changes ahead of this morning's committee meeting. Jeremy Toms is in Frankfort to break down the bill as it stands now and has more on what both sides had to say about it.
The previous version of Senate Bill 115 would have banned drag shows within 1,000 feet of places like schools, parks, and homes. Now it will still ban them in many public spaces, but bill sponsor Lindsay Tishner revamped it with her focus on ensuring that their performances stay away from Kentucky's children.
For some reason, people want this type of content in front of children. And I would dare ask why.
The bill would punish people who perform on public property or any place where they know people under 18 will be present. It could also punish any business that knowingly allows the performance. Tishner and her supporters insisted it's about protecting children. But amid a so-called avalanche of legislation being levied against the LGBTQ community, Senator Karen Berg shared her trans son's last actions in her condemnation of this bill.
The last thing he did at work before he went home and killed himself was to send out a press release warning us of what was coming, warning the world of this.
Even after the bill comfortably passed, LGBTQ advocates remained at the Capitol this morning to protest this type of legislation. They feel they can see success in these democratic spaces if they continue to speak up and speak out.
Getting ready for drag, there's a phrase that some performers will use, and that's trust the process. I'm hoping that I can trust the process and I can trust the ability of democracy to still rise to the top.
In Frankfort, Jeremy Tom, WKYT.
LGBTQ advocates rallied ahead of the hearing on House Bill 470. University of Georgia standout football player Jalen Carter is participating in the NFL Combine after turning himself in for reckless driving charges related to a deadly car crash last month. Jail records show Carter turned himself in for booking just before midnight last night and was released about 20 minutes later. The charges against him stem from the crash in Athens, Clark County, Georgia, on the night of the Bulldogs' championship victory against TCU. Police say Carter had been racing team staffer Chandler LaCroix before her vehicle smashed into poles and trees. LaCroix and UGA player Devin Wilcock died as a result of the wreck. Foreign ministers from around the world are in India for a meeting of the G20 group. The gathering allowed for a very rare face-to-face discussion between U.S. and Russian officials. CBS's Nicole D'Antonio has more on that from Washington.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken delivered a straightforward message to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov.
End this war of aggression. Engage in meaningful diplomacy that can produce a just and durable peace.
This is the first meeting between the two since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Blinken also met with China's foreign minister, and he reiterated that China should not provide weapons or support to Russia for its war efforts.
We've not seen it do that yet, but we've seen it considering that proposition. And what I shared with him again was that this would be a serious problem for us in our relationship with China.
As a sign of just how far relations between Russia and the U.S. have declined, last week Russian President Vladimir Putin announced Russia would be withdrawing from the last nuclear arms treaty between the two countries.
I told the foreign minister that no matter what else is happening in the world or in our relationship, the United States will always be ready to engage and act on strategic arms control, just as the United States and the Soviet Union did even at the height of the Cold War.
Blinken also implored Russia to release American Paul Whelan. The former Marine is accused of spying and has been in captivity since 2018. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
Russia continues to insist that the West is forcing Ukraine to fight in the war, even accusing Western nations of blackmail and threats. The Biden administration is increasing aid to Ukraine in a way you might not expect: farming. Ukraine has a long history of agriculture, which makes up more than 40% of its export revenue. Russia's invasion severely damaged that sector, and the country's economy has plummeted by more than 30%. Now the U.S. Agency for International Development has announced new partnerships with 3 companies that have histories of working in Ukraine. They will help support storage and infrastructure in the country's agriculture sector. The investment is projected to increase Ukraine's grain shipping capacity by more than 3 million tons each year. The U.S. says the investment will help alleviate the global food security crisis. Family members lined up to give DNA samples earlier today in hopes of identifying victims of a train crash that's killed nearly 60 people in Greece. Workers have gone on strike, saying the rail system is outdated, underfunded, and dangerous. The government is putting the blame on human error, and a railway official has been charged with manslaughter. The collision of the passenger train and freight train was the country's deadliest ever and more than 48 people remain hospitalized, with 6 in intensive care. Coming up on First at 4, a flight from Texas to Germany was diverted after experiencing extreme turbulence, injuring 7 people on board.
And more heavy rain, high winds, and even a tornado threat possible as we head into tomorrow. Details after this.